The Attic, a short story by Misty Hamilton Smith. The house on Sycamore Street had stood empty for years, its windows dull and grimy, resembling blind eyes with a gaze that neither saw nor cared for the world outside. The porch sagged, creaking softly under the weight of time and neglect. Its once vibrant wood now splintered and weary, a somber monument of forgotten memories. When the Harrows bought the place, the neighbours watched with a mix of curiosity and caution, peeking from behind gauzy curtains that fluttered in the soft evening breeze. They whispered, low and conspiratorial, about the last family who had lived there, their voices carrying a sense of dread. No one had really seen them leave. One day they were simply gone, as if spirited away by a shadow. It was the kind of house that, without any conscious thought, made you lower your voice, a strange sense of reverence pulling at your throat, the kind of house that seemed to lean in, as if it were listening intently, its very walls alive with secrets it held too tightly. Something about it sent shivers up the spine, like the distant howl of a wind that carried with it the echo of long-forgotten conversations. Emma Harrow was just 6 years old, a tender age where innocence shone brightly in her wide, curious eyes. She was a girl who held a certain affinity for quiet things, mossy rocks scattered like treasures, moths fluttering enchantedly in the twilight, and the soft, soothing cadence of her mother's voice as she read bedtime stories, wrapping Emma in worlds woven from dreams. Among all the mysteries of her new home, Emma was the first to uncover the attic, a place calling for exploration. They moved in on a Tuesday, the sky a sullen shade of wet ash, casting a gloomy pall over the neighborhood, as if the heavens themselves were weeping. The movers grunted and cursed heartily, their voices echoing against the hollow walls as they hefted boxes up the narrow, worn stairs. Emma, brimming with that childlike sense of wonder, wandered about the house, trailing her small fingers along the textured walls, tracing the fingerprints of history. She paused at the base of the attic door, her heart racing with both trepidation and excitement. The door was closed, yet she could feel something in the air, a warm whisper of invitation that told her it was not locked, a silent secret longing to be discovered. That night, as wind swept through the trees outside, thumping against the windows with a ferocious intensity, the house settled into its bones, creaking and groaning like a tired old man. It was then that Emma heard it, a whisper, thin and curling, slithering through the darkness like smoke beneath a door. Brushing against her skin with an ethereal chill, she sat upright in her bed, the crisp sheets tangled around her legs, her heart thudding furiously in her chest as she strained to listen. The whisper came again, more defined, but still indistinct, like fragmented words trying desperately to break free from the depths of the water. It was a sound that tended the edges of her imagination, pulling her into a web of stories yet to be told. The next day, filled with an unshakable need to convey her experiences, she told her mother of what she had heard, her small voice trembling slightly. "It's just the wind, sweetheart," her mother replied gently, brushing Emma's hair behind her ear, the touch warm and reassuring, but laced with unspoken concern. "Old houses make strange sounds. You'll get used to them in time." Emma nodded, but deep inside, a seed of doubt germinated. Part of her did not believe her mother. The whisper felt potent, alive, an echo of something greater than mere wind. That night, the whispers returned, growing bolder, wrapping around her like gossamer threads spun from a forgotten dream. They spoke her name with a sinister familiarity, murmuring secrets that tickled at the back of her mind. They asked her to come closer, beckoning with a magnetic pull that felt impossible to resist. On the fourth night, her determination took shape. Emma crept from bed, her small bare feet meeting the cold, unyielding floorboards, chilling her skin and sending shivers up her spine. The attic door loomed at the end of the hallway, taller and more imposing than she had imagined, its knob tarnished with age. Warm like the palm of a willing ghost, with a gentle push, she opened the door, the hinges sighing as if welcoming her home. The stairs rose steeply before her, narrow and shadowed, the air thick with dust and a lingering aroma that was both sweet and rotten, like the scent of overripe fruit forgotten in the corner of a basement. The light from her flashlight flickered uncertainly, casting stark, dancing shadows that twisted and twisted around her as she ascended. Upon reaching the attic, her eyes scanned the emptiness layered with shadows, her heart pounding in her chest, an alarming drumbeat that echoed in the still air. The attic was mostly empty, yet somehow filled to bursting with the stories it held captive. Boxes piled haphazardly in dark corners, old furniture cloaked in yellowing sheets, each piece a remnant of lives once lived, and in the far corner a rocking chair swayed gently, an unsettling rhythm suggesting a presence, though no one sat within its embrace. Resolutely, Emma stepped into the attic, her heartbeat thunderous in her ears. The door, with a firm but gentle thud, closed behind her, sealing her into a realm of secrets. She didn't scream. The whispers enveloped her like a warm, soft blanket, caressing her cheeks with a tenderness that felt oddly familiar. They began to tell her stories about the house itself, about the people who had once walked its halls, about the tragic things they had done, weaving intricate tapestries of the past. A tapestry that felt strangely woven into her own existence. In those moments, the whispers told her she was special, that she had meaning amidst the stories that lingered like echoes in the silence. They informed her with an insistent gravity that she belonged there, within those dusty walls steeped in fading memories. Downstairs, her parents slept, blissfully unaware, while Emma drifted deeper into the enchanting narratives the attic offered. Morning light cascaded through the kitchen window, casting a golden hue over breakfast, yet Emma was foreign to its warmth. She sat quietly, her gaze fixed on her cereal, the shapes of loops and flakes blurring into a distant land of untraceable thoughts. "Did you sleep okay?" her father asked, his voice resonating with a hopeful concern, the sound tugging gently at her consciousness. She nodded, but the truth felt unattainable, suspended in the air between them like an unsung song. Her mother, brow furrowing in apprehension, leaned closer. "You're pale, honey. Maybe we should skip school today." There was an edge of fear nestled in her mother's tone, a whisper of concern that curled around her like smoke. Emma looked up, her darkening eyes reflecting shadows of things unspoken. "I'm fine," she said, with a conviction that almost felt foreign to her, as if someone else was lending her their voice. That very night, she returned to the attic, the door awaiting her as if it had missed her presence. The familiar embrace felt more like home with each passing moment. She stayed longer, with each secret whispered in the thick stillness. Emma began to change. Her voice grew softer, almost echoing the fragile breath of the house itself. Her movements slowed, as if time was enveloping her in its gentle arms. She stopped playing with her toys, abandoning them for shadows that danced in the corners of her imagination. The colors of her crayons remained untouched, gathering dust, while Emma spent hours staring blankly at the ceiling, her mind filled with the voices of the attic, listening. Her parents grew worried, their glances mixing concern and bewilderment. They took her to a doctor who checked her thoroughly, proclaiming her healthy, perhaps just adjusting to the change of moving. But the diagnosis felt hollow. They tried to cheer her up, showering her with love and gifts, new books glinting with promise, new clothes that seemed bright and flashy against her dimming spirit. Her favorite ice cream, a sweet treat meant to draw out a laugh. Emma smiled in response, but the joy, once radiant, faded into a thin veneer. leaving her eyes dark and distant, as though they gazed into a chasm filled with shadows. One night, Emma's mother woke to the sound of footsteps echoing in the silence, a rhythm of soft thuds thrumming in the back of her mind. Compelled by an unseen force, she followed the sound unsteadily to the attic door, which stood ominously ajar, an invitation that chilled her spine. "Emma," she called, her voice barely rising above a whisper, fear threading through her tone like an insistent chill seeping through the cracks. No answer came. Her heart raced like a wild bird caught in a net as she climbed the stairs, each step creaking under the weight of her anxiety, her breaths growing shallow and quick. When she reached the top, the attic greeted her with an unsettling stillness that sent ice through her veins. The rocking chair appeared to be moving, swaying in a rhythm that aligned with a pulse neither of them could see. She screamed, the pitch piercing the heavy air. They searched the house with frantic desperation, their hearts thrumming with terror, calling her name into the dark corners where shadows gathered thick and ominous. They searched the neighborhood. The police called in as if searching for an end to their unbearable torment. But Emma was gone. The attic returned to silence, the whispers retreating into a void where no sound could reach them. Weeks passed in a suffocating haze of grief, the house growing colder, as if it were weeping for the child it had welcomed. A shadow of the vibrancy that once breathed life into its walls, now replaced by an oppressive stillness. Her parents, unable to bear the weight of their loss, finally moved out, leaving the house empty once more, standing as a haunted echo of what had been. But sometimes, when the wind slipped through the cracks in the facade just right, and the moon hung low over Sycamore Street, a haunting sound could be heard: a child's laughter, light and joyous, echoing from above. And if you listened closely, straining against the silence, the attic would whisper your name, a ghostly reminder that some voices are never truly silenced, lingering in the air, forever entwined with the stories they once shared. Did you enjoy The Attic? Subscribe, like, comment, and share.